Actually, you know what? Infrared, go ahead. You had some stuff. I want to hear you and Destiny. You guys are always good content.
So Destiny, let me ask you a question. I saw a debate you were in recently,
Oh God.
and it sounds like I'm noticing a pattern with you.
Ooh.
So every time somebody says, "Oh, the mainstream media lied" or "the system is corrupt," you're like, "Well, somebody would have already, like, it would have already been on CNN if that was true." Why do you think that the media isn't corrupt and doesn't hush up scandals that threaten the American
Because
establishment?
looking for like corruptions or like these huge conspiracies that impact everything is fucking it's such an
No,
intellectually
no, no.
bankrupt activity. Hold on, let me fucking finish. You're gonna ask me a real question. I'm gonna give you a real answer. Okay. Looking for broad conspiracies like that is boring and stupid to me because you can find anything anywhere. The more interesting question is usually where are the incentives? And if you want to like spin out a conspiracy, as long as it follows the incentives, that makes sense. So for instance, if you wanted, now I would reject this because of what I've heard and what's been reported, but if you wanted to say, for instance, that Bezos is like influencing, I think he owns the Washington Post or whatever somehow, that at least like kind of makes sense because he
It was
owns.
about Biden's. No, it was about Hunter Biden's.
No, I understand that. But I'm saying like Bezos influencing the Washington Post makes sense. But if you're telling me that there's like some candidate that has like some huge juicy story about them, I just look at where the incentives are. Any media organization that breaks that story is going to be fucking rewarded unbelievably for it.
No,
So I think the incentive's there for somebody to break it.
Right, but here that's assuming that the media acts full in a way that's fully independent from the interests of the deep state or whatever you want to call it, the establishment. Here's the thing, Destiny. Here's something I don't think you understand.
Hold on, Infrared. Can I ask something real quick?
Stories.
Real
No,
quick,
let
before
me
I forget.
Let me finish. Really quick. Media and stories, Destiny, they work based on amplification. So if the media wants to downplay something, they can easily downplay it based on their private interest. It is not inevitable that corruption, like the Hunter Biden stuff, is going to not make it through to the CNN.
Yeah, that's possible, but the real answer that nobody wants to hear is that the media is honestly a reflection of what the American public wants to see. And so if you're super unhappy with the shit, you can say it's not only that, but I think it's largely that. I think that the American media plays into what most of the American public wants to see.
It does that within the confines of what is necessary to protect the establishment.
You can utter all that shit if you want, but like Americans generally support the establishment, and the establishment generally supports Americans. We want to see a certain thing, and
devil's advocate. If the American public did not support the establishment, and you can actually make the case for that fact, then it would make no difference as to the media's protection.
This is the problem with this. Okay, if you want to have a serious conversation, I don't know.
Your full circle doesn't complete.
No. It absolutely does.
Not
and I can demonstrate this with literally anything. People will say that they don't support the establishment, but they say that as an aesthetic. You want a really good example? Look at how many millions of people on the internet are talking about how important internet security is and how horrible it is that these companies are buying all of our data and all that shit. How many of these people still have Facebook accounts, Gmail accounts, have Spotify accounts, shop on Amazon? No. It does. Because if you wanted to disconnect from the system, you could totally fucking do it.
No, it doesn't. We live Destiny, we live in a society.
No,
you can't
bullshit. If you want the kind of world that you advocate for, where there are no big institutions, where you don't have those major players, you can do it.
You're not understanding what's essential, what's not essential.
No.
The essential thing, people don't want Facebook's corruption. They might want to be able to interact with people on the internet, but in no way is the establishment's corruption essential to that.
People want everything the establishment provides, and then they'll say they don't. It is true.
Corruption.
It's absolutely true. I'm sorry, my dude, but there were other social media programs before Facebook.
Destiny, there's reasons why people use social media that the establishment's corruption are inessential. It's purely technical, purely social, purely cultural. You can abstract that. Yes, you can abstract that from the establishment.
The SMS standard has existed for cell phones for fucking 30 years. If you want to text somebody, you can do it.
You obviously know social media performs a different function. You know that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but you're going to have to make some trade-offs.
So you're trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I'm not. No. What I'm telling you is that I'm an adult and I recognize that it all comes in a package. If you want free access to a million fucking things,
nothing's ever been a package, and nothing in history was ever a package.
Everything is a fucking package.
Every revolution in history was because they said they want some things and they want to get rid of the bad part.
And hold on. There has never, even with my limited historical knowledge, I know that there has never been a perfect revolution where they got rid of all the bad, kept all the good, and the next administration was purely good. There's always
relative to the previous establishment. Let me give you an example. Destiny, I can give you examples of the English Civil War and the monopolies that were held in the cities by these monopoly the mercantile, whatever capitalists. They absolutely lost out, and after the
they might have, but what came after? What was this before or after like feudalistic shit?
Listen, but here's the irony, right? The revolutionaries during the English Civil War were small mercantile capitalists. They didn't have a problem with mercantilism. They had a problem with the corrupt mercantile establishment that was supported by the absolute monarchy or the monarchy. So you see how in history you can be against establishments while not being against every single thing.
Can I ask a question?
If you want to tell me that you're against the establishment, but every single part of the life that you live fits squarely within how the establishment would have you live, I just don't believe anything. I'm sorry.
It is not every single part.
It is for most people.
It's on topic. Hold on, Destiny.
You can be upset all you want.
People can want to be able to have social media and interact with the public and share their thoughts and information without wanting all of the corruption and shit. That is not unreasonable.
You can say that. But I would say the exact same thing to somebody, no offense to somebody in the audience, but if you weigh 300 pounds and you're saying, man, I wish I was really fit. No, you fucking don't. You want to sit on the TV, you want to eat a fuck ton of horrible fucking food, and you don't want to move or get active at all. You don't want to be going to the gym.
Right. You're making the assumption.
You're not going to let me finish a single thing. You don't want that lifestyle of you having to restrict what you eat, of you having to go to the gym 2 hours, 3 days a week, of you having to be active for at least an hour every day. You don't want that lifestyle, right? What I'm saying is that most of these things
I got your point.
It's a lifestyle. It's not just the one or two. Okay, go.
Because that lifestyle is in every way essential to being able to no longer be 300 pounds. You are making the assumption that the need or the want for being able to share information, whatever goes on social media, is inexorably and essentially tied to the establishment's corruption, and even essentially tied to the current big social media monopolies. If the American people had alternatives, real alternatives, mind you.
No. There are alternatives. Sorry.
But they're not real alternatives.
There are. But you don't want those alternatives because they don't provide what the establishment provides. That's the problem. There are others.
Because they have a monopoly. Because it's not just that Facebook is more popular. Facebook has deals with corporations. Facebook has deals with the government. Facebook is in a better position than, and that's why the rivals can't.
If you want, at some point, I can spend an hour. I can spend an hour walking you through the software, hardware, fucking networking, whatever side you need to understand why these things work the way that they do. But it's not just
it's
Google
not
only works that way because it's
your circle doesn't complete.
Destiny, can I ask you something?
It absolutely does.
No, it doesn't.
Destiny,
it does not.
Destiny, in layman's terms, and I can't believe you push back against this, but media being corrupt, that's a total wow, it can't happen in your world?
The media being corrupt is an excuse people use when they don't want to actually engage with any of the media and they want to get all their news from Facebook memes. That's what people say when they said the media is biased and the media is corrupt.
And now let me just.
Is there a bias?
Yeah,
for sure. But if you read any mainstream media, like a whole fucking article start to finish, you'll be more informed than 98% of people that talk about how the media is all fucking corrupt. Like I get all my news from Alex Jones.
Okay,
Steve, fucking break.
Wow, how did we get to Alex? But that's beautiful. Let's just paint us with that brush. But I'm asking you, Steven, in your world, corporations can be corrupt and influence legislature, but not media can't? Get the fuck out of here, man.
Am I supposed to? Is there
like something I respond to? I
don't get you. I don't really get your take at all.
Okay.
I got the reason, Destiny. You want to have a full circle of harmony, that the whole world is rational and harmonious within your understanding. It's not. The circle does not complete. There's a rottenness this system.
I thought that
and there will be consequences for that rottenness.
I thought
the people want. Here's the real answer, and I understand you don't want to accept it, and nobody does, especially not a populist, because you want to believe that on their core that every person is like, people in a whole are good and they choose for good things, but that's actually not true. People are fucking lazy and they want the easy path of least resistance to everything. And you know what? The institutions that exist in a society, they will reflect that. If we didn't want climate change,
no.
If we didn't want climate change, it wouldn't be here. If we didn't want animal suffering, it wouldn't be here. here. If we didn't want fucking child slavery in fucking China, it wouldn't be here. But the reality is, the reality is that $5 pair of jeans, that $5 pair of jeans at Walmart is more important to you than some fucking child in a lid. You're never gonna fucking
two things why you're wrong. Two things are wrong. Singular decisive moments where it actually matters, people have the willingness to sacrifice.
Boring.
But what people will not do, and they're right for this.
That's boring. That's
boring. Not sacrifice every single aspect of their daily life in the pursuit of some kind of virtuous activistic goal. But here's the thing, here's the fatally flawed assumption you're making. Let me finish. Here's the fatally flawed assumption you're making.
No, I'll take the assumption after I ask you a personal question. Okay?
No, you have to let me finish. You have to let me finish.
Okay, go.
The fatally flawed assumption you're making in the first place is that the path to the least resistance is always submission to the establishment. But history shows that sometimes submission to the establishment and the status quo becomes too unbearable. Life cannot go on, even from the path of least resistance perspective. People no longer have anything to lose, and people are willing to fucking rise up. And history shows that.
And Stephen, you as a liberal,
and Marx said that like 200 fucking years ago. Whatever.
Pause. Stephen, how are you gonna mention Marx? Your whole liberal ideology philosophy comes from Enlightenment thinking. How do you disagree with infrared? What are you talking about?
We have nothing to do with it. Okay.
Yikes.
So one of the fundamental misunderstandings behind like human behavior or whatever, we'll bring this down to an individual level, is this idea around motivation, right? You look like, do you work out? Are you a big guy?
Yeah, obviously.
He takes steroids. I'm a Destiny viewer.
I'm talking to infrared.
Yeah, obviously. I work out.
Yeah, okay. Motivation doesn't mean anything when it comes to like making progress in literally anything in your life. What matters is two things: discipline and lifestyle. So when you talk to me about when you talk to me about these singular decisive moments, nobody gives a fuck. That's really great.
You're misunderstanding me. You're misunderstanding me.
Oh my God, I can't even fucking finish.
I was agreeing with you when I said that.
If you want to walk
Let Stephen talk.
If you want to walk out and do some big fucking march for Save the Trees, and then you want to drive your big ass fucking home, and then you want to leave your fucking AC at 68 Fahrenheit, and you want to run all your shit in your house overnight, like you don't actually give as much a fuck about these issues as you say you're. It's an aesthetic.
Destiny, that's great, Destiny, that you brought up an example that had nothing to do with my point. It was actually kind of a little bit in agreement with what
I can bring up an example of literally every single thing you say.
I let you finish. You let me finish.
After you talk for 2 minutes, but go ahead.
When I said a singular decisive moment, notice the key word was decisive. So that bullshit march you're talking about obviously isn't fucking decisive. But there are singular decisive moments where people are taking a risk and they are sacrificing in the short term. And history shows people are willing to do that when they can be convinced that it actually is going to matter. That's why the majority of people, Destiny, don't go to those fucking marches. Destiny, you have this idea. I know you hate leftists so much, and I don't blame you, but you have this idea, I don't know why, that most Americans are these like trendy, activistic, kind of virtue signaling woke types.
No,
and they're fucking not.
Hold on. That's absolutely not true.
Most Americans don't go to the March for trees.
Most Americans just want to fucking work their job, go home, chill with their kids.
Obviously, it's what most human beings want. Yes, I agree.
Of course. Yeah, 100%. Obviously.
I'm just curious. So, yeah, I never thought you had this take, Steven. And I've seen your stuff. Wow. Infrared, keep going. Yeah.
Fuck.
What I'm actually trying to say, I precisely don't believe the majority of any given people will ever dedicate their lives to being virtuous, vegan, activists, whatever the fuck. I believe in the opposite of that. All I'm trying to say is that the basic human need for basic dignity, livelihood, and the grill pill stuff Destiny was talking about, the establishment inevitably enters into contradiction with that. And we've seen these contradictions, specifically in America, in the past few decades manifest themselves.
And it seems like it's not a new thing to fight the establishment. That's why women can vote. Like, how are you against anything he's saying? You're a joke, man. You got nothing today. I think don't know about no Adderall today. Go ahead, Ifred. Finish him off.
And what I'm trying to say is that we can believe that everything comes in a full circle, where the people on the ground are ultimately the ones who are fully responsible for the corruption on top. But the truth
I
is
didn't
that,
say fully responsible.
no, but like your basic. When I say the full circle, what I'm trying to say is that you have this biased idea that I
No.
can't see how you can support it, which is basically
What I'm saying,
this idea that the whole world is what it is because it has to be that.
yes,
more or
no.
less.
What I'm saying is that there is a feedback between what we see and what we are. Those
Yeah,
two
I
things
agree.
feedback on
I
each other.
agree.
So, for instance, for a long time,
Yeah.
well, back when I was a kid, I'm 32. So when I was a kid, I would hear these arguments all the time about how capitalism is anti.
You don't have to give an example,
Oh
Greg.
my
I understand
God.
your point. I understand your point.
Okay, for the people that are listening, then that don't understand, okay, people will say capitalism is racist, capitalism is sexist, because when you look at all the big movies and shit, you didn't have very many female heroes, you didn't have very many black heroes, right? That's what people saw, so that's what people said. But the reality was that at that time, I don't think as a population we wanted to see that much. Well, look what's happening today. Now conservatives are saying capitalism has got us on a fucking cuck train because you've got all these, you got female heroes, you got black characters and everything. Well, now what's happening now? Did the system fundamentally change? Was there some fundamental shift in how our economy operated that we went from being like relatively regressive to incredibly fucking woke in the markets? No, the economy is just a reflection of what the people want to see. But the problem is that there are times when we take a step back and we look at everything. We look at the media, we look at the economy, we look at entertainment, we go, man, that's disgusting. And instead of saying, man, I wonder if that disgust is a reflection of who we are, we want to point the finger to either the fucking Jews or the capitalists or whatever imagined enemy we have because we don't want to take responsibility at the end of the day for what we're projecting onto the environment around us. That's the real answer. That's the real answer.
There's two prongs of why I think that's a wrong answer, okay? The first prong is basically... Okay, first of all, to be clear, I do agree that the world is a reflection of the people. Let's just say that. But there's a few caveats that I think you've been ignoring, and that's why I think you have the biased assumption that the circle completes. So the example you gave is a confusing one about the relationship between culture and the economy. Well... If anything, all of the example you just gave proved, and I'm sorry if you couldn't give a better example, but I have to address this one, is the fact that leftists were fundamentally wrong about the nature of capitalism. Capitalism is not some kind of conservative, patriarchal kind of system. Even Marx wrote about this. Capitalism as all that is solid melts into air. Deleuze talks about capitalism has a deterritorializing effect. It breaks down families, it breaks down traditions, and it breaks down... This is not something new, by the way. It's not because the people's arbitrary tastes... It's not because people's tastes and values arbitrarily changed. It is actually fundamentally a part of what capitalism is, according to the theorists of capitalism for hundreds of years.
Right.
The second prong of why I think you're wrong on that whole thing is that I actually agree that the phenomena we see in the world is a reflection of the people. But here's what you don't accept. You don't accept populism as an objective phenomena. You think it's just a subjective individual error, and that the reason we have populistic discontent with the system among tens and or maybe even hundreds of millions of Americans is because subjectively speaking, they are just individually stupid. If you can say that the reason we have all of these problems like the establishment and Facebook is because of the people are responsible, why are the people also not responsible for populism? And why is populism not something also objective? Why is the very breakdown of the establishment you're witnessing
Beautiful.
something objective?
I'm curious.
People have said
the establishment you're talking about is losing legitimacy among the American people.
Where the establishment has
at least subjectively
been,
speaking,
the establishment has always been quote unquote losing legitimacy. There have been people
after World War II.
Remember all the fucking protests in the 60s over fucking Vietnam? Remember all the shit about Iraq and Afghanistan?
That was in the 70s. That was not the 50s and 60s, the golden era. But even in the 50s and 60s, do you think that the civil rights movement was going against the New Deal Democrat establishment in the U.S.? It wasn't. It was going against these reactionary vestigial strongholds of the Jim Crow era that became outdated by that time. So it actually wasn't some kind of populism.
Sure.
If anything, the populism in the 50s was like McCarthyism and, this kind of stuff.
You know what? People have been saying for thousands of years that Jesus will come back. People have been saying for hundreds of years that capitalism is right on its death's door.
No,
we'll see what happens.
I never said capitalism is on its death's door, but the establishments that prevail in any given state or society, just the same way that they rise, they also fall.
Which establishments right now are in the process of falling in the United States? What's about to fail? Give us a prediction.
The American establishment. The one.
What does that mean? Give me an actual.
The one that has a president that 50% of Americans don't even fucking recognize.
So you think in 4 years we're not gonna have a U.S. president anymore? Give me an actual.
Did I say that? Did I say that?
What does it mean when an establishment fails?
It means that the government, the media, and the organs that rule our society lose legitimacy among the population and are no longer able to fulfill their functions.
Okay, hold on.
Such as the function, which is the function of a president and the function of a state.
Infrared,
hold on. When the executive...
What happened in January 6th? You don't think there's a
hold on,
breakdown?
Infrared, just let him talk. Let him talk.
Yeah, holy shit.
Come on,
so I don't know what you mean when lose legitimacy, blah, blah, blah. You can say shit about that. So the one thing that you said was correct is that institutions have functions. When an institution can no longer carry out said function, then I would say the institution has failed. When the executive branch of the United States loses the ability to enforce its laws, then I will agree with you that
hold on, Infrared, don't start.
It doesn't only need to enforce laws on paper, Destiny. It also needs to actually attend to its real material and objective function.
All right, you're going in circles. Hold on.
Not just the function it itself claims for itself, but even at that level, Destiny, what is the function of the institution of American democracy?
Here's your fundamental disagreement. He has said many times, liberalism is the psychosis of liberalism. You said this, right, Infrared? Is fascism. He is attacking you as a person, Stephen, and your ideology. Start with the basics, because when we're going in circles, it gets boring. Okay, go ahead.
What? Wait, hold on. This is getting into like a hardcore political philosophy conversation. Why?
They're so much better. It's so much better than which industry? Name me an industry. Infrared, you know where to go. Go ahead.
Well, here's where I'd go. I would say that...
Wait, hold on. Fuck, this motherfucker just talked for like 20 minutes out of the past like 25 minutes.
All right, get him, Steven, get him.
Okay.
Make it interesting. Make it interesting.
All I'm going to say is that and this is something I've said several times, I thought it was surprising that the past election of Trump actually showed a very surprising resiliency in the American institutions. Our judicial system continued to function. I thought it wouldn't for a while. Our executive branch has continued to carry on. I thought that it wouldn't for a while. Legislatively, we're in a weird spot, but all of the American institutions, by large, still seem to be pretty intact and pretty functional. If some of these start to fail, and by fail, I don't mean there's a lot of really bad Facebook memes posted about them. I mean, they're unable to carry out their function, then yeah, that would be like a huge cause for concern. But as of right now, they seem to be holding pretty steady.
And those are what we would call famous last words, because the kicker here, the key word here is as of right now. If you think that this box that was opened up by the recent Trump phenomena has been closed, your naivety just astonishes me.
Nobody literally
very out of touch.
You can make that prediction all you fucking want. If you want to put money on it, we can bet on it. If you feel really confident,
I am willing to put money on the following prediction. Within 8 years in America, shit's gonna hit.
Oh my god, 8 years?
Oh man, you got that from me. You got that from me. All right, I'll Steven.
Wait. When you say shit hits a fan, what do you mean by that?
A fundamental institutional crisis of the American state.
What do you mean by that? Hold on, wait. Talk to me like a human being, not like you're doing. Now you're doing like a political commentary for your fucking YouTube show.
I'll give you the scale that I'm talking about, right?
Like thousands of people dying across all these cities, like
you don't have to talk about death, but you can talk about, for example, a crisis of legitimacy, states not recognizing the federal government, secessions.
That's a pretty low standard,
Stephen. A breakdown of the unity of the American state.
Okay, you're okay. Can I give you some examples? Can I give you some?
Let Stephen answer. Don't steamroll him. Go ahead, Stephen.
There's a lot of
no. Infrared, stop. Let him go.
Let me give you like an example of some answers that I would accept. So, like a state actually secedes from the union, or an actual like civil war starts where there are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of like malicious arms shooting at each other. These are not like the fundamental blanket that is American freedom and democracy has begun its dissolution across the region of the United States. Not some shit like that. I don't know what the fuck that means. Like, give me a concrete, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Not like people don't understand the legitimacy of the president.
A fundamental political deadlock which the current institutions do not have the means to resolve. So that would be, for example, a crisis of the breakdown of the unity between the various branches. What if maybe the courts will... It's some kind of deadlock at that level. Where the
deadlock like what? Like Congress is having a hard time passing legislation?
As we know it. If we take the American government to be a totality of the various branches, the departments and agencies, and the
you're giving me a non-answer.
American government.
Is this a
there will
communist
be
thing?
some-
Wait, can you actually not answer the question?
What question?
What do you mean? What am I looking for when you say there's a breakdown?
How am I supposed to know precisely what will happen?
Well, I can give you an example. Maybe Congress refuses to pass any legislation for 4 years. Maybe the Supreme Court refuses to hear any more cases. Maybe the executive... What?
How do I know which one of those is going to be the one?
Because you're the one making the predictions. If you don't know, then we're in the same boat.
Yeah, Infrared, the onus is on you now.
Yeah, you're the one making the big
I recognize
predictions.
there's a fundamental political division in this country, which our current institutions are not equipped to be able to overcome or deal with. And the reason I understand this, Destiny, is because what the recent election proved, is that people are more loyal to their partisan position, their whatever side of the aisle they are on, over the legitimacy of the U.S. government. That's why 50% of people still don't fucking recognize Joe Biden. If that's not proof that a big crisis is underway for American democracy in the near future, I don't know what kind of proof you need.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Now, hold on. Infrared, how much of a doomer are you? Do you see U.S. just splitting apart in the next 8 years? Because I do believe all these Trump people aren't going to go away, and they're going to continue this.
Okay, wait. Also, I love you all so much. I need to sleep. It's fucking late for me. Okay.
No, we're doing good. What the hell?
Okay.
No, you
Steven,
can't stop
you're
now,
having
bro.
fun. You're having fun.
What
Hold
the
on.
hell?
You can't stop
What the
now.
hell?
I'm
a gamer.
adjusting my camera. My colors are fucked.
Don't
Hold on.
secede
Hey,
I'll be
Steven,
right back.
let me teach you something about Steven streaming. If you stay later tonight, that just means less League of Legends for your chatters tomorrow.
Okay. Hold on. Let me fuck
Right?
with my camera's colors.
I don't know
It's
if
really
they
fucked up
like
right now.
League as much as this, right? I think he did. But